Carlos Moll, de nuevo.
I carried you home, taking all the weight off your shoulders. Now we're long gone, falling into 1 year older. It's funny how our love began when I was sober. Now I stumble in a room where nobody else cares. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. We've been knocked down way too many times, and now my tries deja vu round, spinning me into another lost time. Tell me where this road will end before I drive over the edge. Give me one break to recover myself, because I can't bear. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking.
Say you won't leave me. I know it's too easy to run away, to run away. I know you wanted this. I never wanted this to end, but now we're going down. picking up the pieces that we left here, we just left here.
No way of knowing where to go, 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 where to go, 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 no way of knowing where to go. No way of knowing where to go. No way of knowing where to go, 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 where to go, go, go.
All my senses told me it's the wrong way to go, but I don't know if it's worth it. Oh, it's always the wrong day to show, and I don't.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa, like always, your co-host for this show, brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Golden Goal Press. And like always, I would like to give a huge welcome to my friend and co-host of the show, Jacob Young. Jacob, how's it going, man?
It's going all right. It's not going too bad. We've got a game this Saturday. Yes, the last Saturday game did not go too well, and of course, last night didn't necessarily go too well for the United States of America soccer. But other than that, not doing too bad.
And then it went very well for Mexico. That's probably like salt in your wounds.
Of course, yeah. Anytime that Mexico does well, not to offend anyone in the chat, but we all know USA does not necessarily care for El Tri. And El Tri does not necessarily care for the United States. So,
just to clarify,
both
he means
ways.
El Tri of Mexico, not El Tri of Austin FC.
Okay, Austin FC to steal that. No one cares about that team anyway, too, as well. But apparently, side note, back and forth right now is going, like, Austin Bold is kind of now with Austin FC. So Austin Bold is being
Wait,
weird.
what?
Yeah, as in they're like saying, "Oh, we support Austin FC," but they've gone back and forth. Apparently, that's what I've heard. So it's like, which one is it, Austin?
Yeah, like I heard they were starting like a big movement to try and get both fan bases together. But last time I saw, like, it was going really bad for them. Like, Austin FC fans wanted nothing to do with Austin Bold because apparently, according to them, Austin Bold's ownership was trying to sabotage in any way possible their Austin FC's bid into MLS. And, of course, Austin Bold fans want nothing to do with Austin FC because of Precourt. So it's going to be super difficult. I think at the best, for the city, it'd be best for both of them to unite, like you say. But I just find it very hard to believe, given the circumstances, that they were able to set aside their differences so easily and so quickly. But this is not an Austin Bold FC show. It'd be something interesting to ask the guys of the Three Birds Boldcast that are coming on Generation Orange next week in preparation for the U.S. Open Cup match between the Houston Dynamo, aka RGVFC Toros, versus Austin Bold FC, and we'll talk about that a little bit on this show as well, because like I mentioned, it will affect the Toros. Today, we're also going to be talking about, obviously, the game that happened last Saturday against Orange County SC. We talked about it last week when it came to... We always mention it when it comes to loans. And it just seems that the Houston Dynamo just don't understand or they refuse to understand because it doesn't benefit them. And Sean brought up a good point, but we'll bring it up later on after once we talk about this topic. We'll also be talking about, obviously, the game against Real Monarchs that's coming this Saturday. We'll be talking about Malik Foster's game against the U.S. national team yesterday at Audi Field. And we'll also going to be we'll continue to talk about what we can do, what we as a fan base can do to improve the coverage of the Toros, because from what we've seen out of Generation Orange, out of the Houston Dynamo, this whole hashtag read list that Sean started is giving us great dividends. We've had so many articles from the Houston Chronicle, not only from the Dynamo and recaps, but I think yesterday they released an article that Glenn Hill wrote about the two Venezuelans, Fuenmayor and Ronaldo Peña, talking about their experiences with their families over there with this whole political unrest in Venezuela. But also talking about the Dash as well, and that caught us all by surprise. And the fact that also the Houston Dynamo right now is releasing what they call the Dynamo Dash Press Daily. And that basically means that they come up with a list of all of the articles, whether it's on print, whether it's videos on in the local news channels that they talk about the Dynamo or the Dash, as well as printed newspapers or online articles, like I said, that talk about the Dynamo and the Dash. And that's something that has never been done before. And that just goes to show you, it may be just a coincidence. We don't know. I'm not going to say that, this is because of us. But, it's just such a big coincidence that after Sean started hashtag read list, all of this came into fruition, which means that if it is indeed part of the reason of read list, the fact that people are retweeting, reading these articles and talking about them on social media, that it does, like Brett Zalaski told us, it does make a difference. And it doesn't have to be 1,000 people. It doesn't have to be 500 people. Just 10, 15 people. But if they continuously do that, it makes a difference. We'll talk about it even more. So let's get this started for what we came here for. What's up, Harry? Huge shout out to Harry. He's still kind of brothing in pain after that South Texas Derby. Wait. Hold on. Not only the South Texas Derby loss, but also the Central Texas Derby loss in Open Cup. Yeah. I'm sure he's still groveling in pain out of that. But let's get started with the show. So last Saturday, the Toros went to Orange County to take on Orange County SC, and we came back with a 2-1 loss. First of all, it always seems, and you mentioned it, I think you mentioned it in the chat, it always seems to be that for some reason the Toros don't react until they're like 2 down or 1 down.
Yep.
And we know that they're able to play their style from the get-go, because we saw it against San Antonio at home. But it seems like away, they're a lot more cautious. They're a lot more reluctant to they're a lot more reluctant to impose their style in the game. Mostly because it seems like, and it's obvious, that home team is going to want to make a statement right from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And impose their style. And that's what it seemed like in the beginning of this match. Now, it doesn't help that you had four completely new, well, let me take that back, not completely new. You had 4 Dynamo loanees in the starting 11. And guess what? All 4 of them, they were part of the spinal cord of this team. To put in Alejandro Fuenmayor, to put in Ronaldo Peña, to put in Juan David Cabezas, and to put in the Birdman Eric Bird, we had to sacrifice pretty much 4 of our best players. Connor Donovan, Isidro Martinez, Romelio Hernandez, and Michael Salazar. So all of the chemistry that we had accumulated throughout these past games against San Antonio, against, help me out here, against Portland, against...
against everyone.
Yeah.
Basically.
LA Galaxy too. And we're pretty much starting from scratch. Now, I mentioned it to Sean on Tuesday, and he kind of had this whole posture of, yes, it does affect chemistry, but they should be professionals, and they should adapt right away, given to the circumstances. And yet, what is the thing that we always talk about, whether it's professional broadcast, professional sport analyzers, or just fans? What do we always talk about preseason? It's gonna take a while for them to play their best because they're getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. How can you expect, how can you as a fan, how can you as someone who supports or just follows soccer in general, how can you expect for a team to get back from such a big blow to their chemistry in not even a day, or at least just a day since they got there, which means pretty much no practices or maybe one practice. You can't expect for this team to get used to everybody in just one day and then expect to implement a style right then and there at the match. It's just not possible. Yes, Eric Bird's been here before. Yes, Juan David Cabezas has been here before. Yes, Alejandro Fuenmayor has been here before. But you cannot compare the sporadic game that they've played with this team. Compare it to day in and day out with Romelio, with Isidro, and with Connor Donovan and Michael Salazar. You can't. It doesn't compare. Also, yes, they've played, but it was just them and everybody else. So when they played, it was a little bit easier for the team to kind of play how they were because it wasn't such a big blow. But you put all of these 4 together, Eric Bird coming out of I believe it was an ankle injury. Ronaldo Peña from a knee injury, or maybe I got it mixed around, but they're both coming out of injuries. Juan David Cabezas, who hasn't played with the Dynamo in a while, and I quote Wilmer Cabrera on this because he doesn't want to bench neither Matias Vera nor Boniek Garcia because they've been playing so well. And Alejandro Fuenmayor, who hasn't seen a lot of MLS minutes either because of Maynor Figueroa and Kiki Struna. Now, granted, Alejandro Fuenmayor had been playing a couple of games recently because of Maynor Figueroa's personal situation that happened a couple of weeks ago. So he was able to see some minutes. But when you put all of this together, you break up the chemistry, like I said, that has been going on with this team.
100%. I mean, you basically took the words out of my mouth. And to Sean, really, you expect them to be that, or not even just professionals in general. You can be as good of a professional as you can be, but when you have to move back and forth, it sucks. You're not going to have any chemistry with anyone, basically, because you're moving back and forth. You have to share time, basically. You're spending 1 week up there and then a weekend down at someplace else. No, that's not okay. You don't, on a personal level, you will, of course, let's say for Peña, Ronaldo Peña. He will know, of course, Boniek Garcia, AJ De La Garza, just all these other players on a personal level for Houston because he's there weekly. But on the weekend, when he comes down, he's not going to know really Jesus Enriquez. He's not going to know Chuy Enriquez on this personal level, nor Cabrera Jr. or Foster. It's just impossible. In general, I want you to go and do that exact same thing for a whole week and weekend and tell me if you learn some more stuff over that, as well as playing a soccer game, having to know this freaking formation out of the blue because, oh, yeah, you practiced it. Oh, wait, no, you didn't, because all you know is this. You don't know how that player is going to play on that pitch week in and week out, no matter how much you study. It's impossible. And then given this as well, RGVFC, they stay at an apartment together. Of course, not just in one room. They have their own rooms, but mainly they're together on a daily basis, whether being bused or driving over to the practice field. It's impossible. It's just that does not work. When when Houston does this to RGVFC, that's when we see the losses. That's when we see the bad performances. Now, luckily for us, of course, we're going to get into this game much more because there's one thing that I was listening 2 nights ago to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast because, well, it's kind of fun to stay up late and listen to other podcasts and see what they've got to say. And it was pretty cool. They were saying, well, guess what? The ref was kind of against Orange County SC. So that should have played more of a fact into RGVFC in the way that they were able to play. But, of course, it didn't necessarily happen that way. And we saw a lot more stuff from Orange County instead of RGVFC, given the fact that, well, the chemistry was off. You have this different back line where, yes, Kyle Adams, but where's Connor Donovan? Kyle Adams only knows how to play with Connor Donovan. We've seen that happen. You stick Alejandro Fuenmayor there, and Fuenmayor, it's different.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like he doesn't know how to play with Alejandro Fuenmayor. More aggressive than Connor Donovan. So,
and that's kind of what I meant there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, continue.
No, that's all I was going to say. That's kind of what I meant.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clear that up because, it's not like we said that it's not that he doesn't know how to play. It's just that these tendencies, they still haven't learned it because they're not there week in and week out. Now, it's different, for example, when you had the 2 center back pairings from the Dynamo, then yes, they at least and they know each other well and they know how to adapt to each other, at least in that. Now, here's another thing. We talked about Eric Bird being in an injury. Ronaldo Pena too. That's the striker that you're going to have to rely on to put it inside the net. The guy is out of form. I like Ronaldo Pena, but he's out of form because he's coming off an injury, number one. Number two, his confidence isn't there yet because he's barely getting out of an injury. Those were his first minutes since the end of last season in MLS season. Why would you, if you as a club already have a list of established PK takers, whether it's Chuy Enriquez or Wilmer Cabrera Jr., who was playing and he has scored on a penalty before, Malik Foster, you decide, or Ronaldo Pena decides to take the penalty. Now, I understand that it's all like it's to bring up his confidence, but this is where I think the team, the coach established or puts into this scenario his list of people he knows because he's seen at practice, he's practiced penalties with them, and he knows which players are going to make a very effective penalty kick. But Ronaldo Pena comes in and decides to take the shot. Okay, I understand. I'm pretty sure it'd be like, well, if he made it, nobody would say anything. Yes, true. But what I'm saying is, I feel like, given the circumstances of his injury, I think we should have gone with the safer bet and gone with somebody that we already know is going to be effective.
Yeah. I don't know if you were there for this conversation in RGV or in the Valley when we missed. Actually, I think you were with me in the booth when we missed that penalty,
with
if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was. Well, no, I think it was against Fresno.
Yeah, it was Malik Foster that missed it.
Exactly. It's because our other guy gave up that penalty for. Our star gave up the penalty for Malik.
Yeah.
So it goes back to also that we know who should take our penalties week in and week out, but then you give that up for, yes, of course, a man who will say, I am better than you. I've got an MLS contract. Yet, like you said, and we can keep bringing this up, he's been injured. He does not have 90-minute form.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to allow this man to save our butts and try and score a goal when we know that another player on this team has made penalties against USL keepers. May I remind you, this is USL, not MLS. So you don't have to play a lot of games to try and get this ball into the back of the net. Run up and take it. Instead, we give it to someone else. And, of course, they are able to mess that up.
And see, here's the thing. Like, Ronaldo Pena, he's not, as far as I know, he's not even the designated penalty kicker for the Dynamo. It's Elise.
Exactly.
Or Manotas.
It's always been Elise and Manotas that have been able to put the ball into the back of the net. And then sometimes on free kicks, of course, you can give the ball to Memo Rodriguez where you could try and maybe put the ball into the back of the net just like, what's his face that now plays for Columbus Crew was able to do as well. I'm trying to think. I don't know, 13.
Oh, Rico,
there we go. Another guy. So, I mean, my point being, yes, we have designated guys in Houston for them, and then we haven't seen Ronaldo Pena, I don't believe, even in the 2 seasons that he's been with us, or 1.5, take a penalty. And all of a sudden he wants to take a penalty in USL. That is questionable, and of course, that's when Jerson can get mad, not only at his team, but also at Houston for saying, look, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He decides to take a penalty, not his call. And, I mean, we have other penalty takers that can put the ball into the back of the net instead of no. I don't know. Of course, yeah, we're just dragging on this situation, but it goes back to
and the reason
you don't know the team.
And the reason that we're starting with this first is because this was in the 4th minute. This was an opportunity to take the lead early and take control of the match. We miss it. The momentum abruptly shifts over to Orange County. They score a goal. They score the second goal, and now we're 2-0 down. And we are with players that do not have a lot of chemistry together and that are kind of struggling given their circumstances. Now, here's another thing when it comes to we know the Dynamo's gonna be sending in whoever they please as far as loans to the Toros. That's something that we can't get rid of. That's something that is not in Jerson's control. That's something that it's not in our control as fans either. The Dynamo, Wilmer Cabrera, Matt Jordan is gonna say, okay, you and you, you're going down. No ifs, ands, or buts. All they say is tell Coach Echeverry. I'm assuming they just let him know, okay, these players are going to go down with the team, with the Toros. Now my question is, for example, Eric Bird played 45 minutes. He played the first half, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, if to me that seems more like a wasted sub, having to bring him out in the 45th minute. It's a wasted sub, because what happens if you need something else out of this team? What if you need to make a tactical change off the bench? You already wasted one sub, and then you look at the other two subs. You take out Malik Foster at the 78th minute. I want to assume, this is just something that I'm assuming. I'm not saying that this is true, but it seems to me like maybe Malik Foster, number one, could have been a tactical change, or number two, not to get him too tired for this match against USA in the friendly.
Just to not get him tired for both the friendlies. I know that they probably have two, just like the USA still have one more on Sunday. So
correct.
Yeah. So
and then you sub out Ronaldo Pena in the 57th minute to bring in Michael Salazar. And then they come in, and it's gonna take a while for them to get on their groove into the match, and it's kind of pretty much playing catch up. Where I felt that if we could at least have, if you're gonna play, if you know you have to play for Eric Bird 45 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. You know you have to play him for 45 minutes. I personally would have started with. See, I don't even want to say this, but I personally would have started with either Romilio or Isidro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then bring in Eric Bird. No, Eric Bird to play some minutes, not necessarily 45. But if we're gonna be easing him in, it would be great if we could ease him in on Gerson Echeverry's terms and not necessarily on the Dynamo's terms. Who knows the team better than Gerson Echeverry?
It's true. And luckily, of course, both teams were playing at the same exact time, so Houston wouldn't necessarily be able to check only after the game of when Gerson necessarily put him in. So then, of course, it can become a problem in that sort. I understand why he like we've talked about, he's forced to start these players. Whoever Houston sends down, he's forced to start them. I think that's the only problem, is that because Eric Bird had to play only 45 minutes, though he was forced to start due to Houston Dynamo being that way. Yeah, it's a waste. And considering this, I also have this to say. Who is Houston Dynamo playing this Wednesday? If I'm not mistaken, or it might be a Tuesday.
It's on Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday. Who are they playing on Tuesday?
Austin Bold FC.
Exactly. They're playing an Open Cup game against a USL team. What better way to do that than to start Eric Bird or to put him on the bench and let him play 45 minutes? You and I both know Houston will probably want to try and win this cup again. And, of course, yes, it is the first round. And you play a USL team most likely, or, of course, in any other circumstance, you will play the North Texas Rayados, basically, or whoever that was.
Last year, yes, North Texas Rayados.
Haha, I got it right. Wow, that was lucky. The name. But either way, you're playing a USL team. That is a perfect opportunity for you to ease a player in. No matter if it's in the first 45 or the second 45, you can ease that player in, control the game in the first half if you have to with your starters. That's the way to play those games, at least when you're playing a USL opponent. Of course, take no credit or whatever. Like, all the credit goes to USL. They bring the best teams possible by far, because they're right underneath, and any upset can happen. But point being, to control that game, yeah, you can put your starters, then of course sub in some not starters, and be fine. That's when you're able to, of course, really get those minutes. And yes, we are a farm team. It's always going to happen. But not when you've got a big game that's going to necessarily, I don't know, ruin some playoff hopes. You're giving Orange County SC an opportunity to feel confident about their season. No offense, guys. It's not a turning point for you beating us with these players.
See, and I remember 2017 and 28 and maybe 2018. I was one of the biggest vocal guys saying, "Oh, why aren't this Dynamo sending us, players, yada yada yada." But here's the difference. Back in 2017, the roster and the coach, I think mostly Coach Gonzalez, was a dumpster fire. We needed all the help we can get. This team, however, the difference with Gerson Echeverry is that Gerson Echeverry actually knows what he wants out of this team, what kind of play style he wants, and all of the players in this roster that are USL, they are in sync with what Coach Echeverry wants. They have believed everything coming out of Coach Echeverry and how he wants to play. They embrace it. When you bring in all of these people, like I said, they are not 100% in because they don't know exactly what Coach Echeverry wants because they're not there in practices. And that puts everything out of sync, and that's why we see this big difference. And I don't know who said it on Twitter, but the biggest comment that I saw was, I think it was USL Western memes. He made the comment of saying, like, this team plays better without Daddy Dynamo than with Daddy Dynamo.
Yep. No, you're correct. I mean, this game proves it. This season has already proven it as well. It's weird. And so true. That's why we don't necessarily have as great of a record as we could, in a way.
And it's funny that everybody complains about hashtag Daddy Dynamo in USL Twitter, but in reality, it's when we have a lot of Dynamo subs, don't worry, we're probably not be playing to our potential than when we usually do. But. Mm-hmm. Going back, I'm not saying that this is because the Dynamo players suck. It's all about
they're
chemistry.
Coming off of injury. It's not their fault.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one, and then two, it's chemistry. They don't know.
There has to be a better way. There has to be a better, more common sense way to ease these players back into the Dynamo system, back into match fitness, that benefits the Dynamo and getting these players into match fitness without necessarily hurting or hampering the performance of RGVFC Toros. This isn't the G League. This isn't the under 20s or under 18 leagues like in other countries. Yeah. This is its own competitive league. And especially right now in the Western Conference, we do not have the luxury of wasting points for the sake of the Houston Dynamo. Now, I understand Sean's point as well when it comes to the reason they wanted to bring in so many players this past Saturday was because you're going to have Elise out, you're going to have Kyoto out, you're going to have Maynard Figueroa out, you're going to have Kiki Struna out for this week. You're also going to have, who else am I missing? AJ De La Garza as well out for Guam. You're going to have a lot of players out, in this break. You have Open Cup, and the thing is, you want to have these players that weren't available be available to you as fast as possible because you have a stretch of I think it was 15 games. And Blues, remind me, I think it was 15 games in 8 weeks or something like that. It was something crazy.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
it was something crazy like that. So they need all the players in the roster that they can rotate around when it comes to this. I understand that in the Dynamo point of view, but they need to understand the Toros point of view that there has to be a better way to get to ease them in, and then all of it like all four of them at one time and ruining the beautiful chemistry that this team has. I don't think I've ever seen, well, besides Charlie Ward, but I don't think I've ever seen a midfield as great, a midfield pairing as great as Romelio with Isidro.
Yeah,
And that's
glad you
because
brought up-
we had Todd Warden last season.
Yeah, that is true. Now with Portland Timbers too. Hope you're doing well, Todd. And sometimes we hope you will not make it to the first team of Portland. We wanted you to make it to the first team of Houston Dynamo.
Well, the Dynamo only have themselves to blame.
Exactly. So
Just like with
actually, you know what? Crush it at Portland.
just like with Charlie Ward with Houston Dynamo, but let's not fall down that rabbit hole, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Blues fan says it's,
we love you, Charlie.
yeah. We love you. We miss you. I can't imagine what kind of team we'd have if you still were around.
Exactly,
See-
with the passing accuracy that he has.
See, you know what would be great? Now that Wilmer Cabrera is going to be gone, right? Now, thinking hypothetical, let's imagine if Charlie Ward was still here. With Wilmer Cabrera leaving for college.
Oh, Cabrera Jr.
Yes,
Yeah,
Wilmer
yeah.
Cabrera Jr. Going for college. Would you imagine a defensive midfield of Charlie Ward and Romelio Hernandez, and then Isidro Martinez as the distributor just ahead of them in Wilmer Cabrera's spot? Could you imagine? Would you imagine how great that team would be?
Yeah, that would be super impressive considering, like you said, yeah, of course, given the fact he learns a bit of how they play, because, well, let's face it, he hasn't been here and he doesn't know. But yeah, like you said, that would be a very impressive back line in general. I mean, you're also talking about having the help from Kyle Adams and even Connor Donovan, too. It's, yeah, of course, that's just the midfield. Like, yeah, midfield would get help from defense, of course, because you can't be perfect in midfield in general. But, yeah, no, that would be almost an unstoppable force for at least the back line. And, of course, you can't rely on them all the time. And when you rely on them, we've seen it with our own eyes. It becomes a problem. That's the whole reason why. Well, yeah, we kind of took some blame on Charlie Ward, but in reality, it was the whole team around him, too. That was just not performing to its potential that it had, and why we had basically a losing record that year before he had to depart due to Houston Dynamo being Houston Dynamo for, well, now, of course, they're learning, but just at that point, they were not.
I still don't
being
forgive them.
themselves, I guess.
I still can't forgive them for that.
He still can't necessarily forgive him either.
Yeah.
I mean, that interview with him last year.
Let's not mention that, okay? Let's not mention that, okay? We don't want to burn any bridges.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure.
Remember, you never know what can happen in the future, and he said it himself.
That's true. That is true.
So Ray actually, what's going on, Ray? He says Todd Two Sears Wharton and Kyle Murphy doing damage to Lowdown. Imagine them as well on that lineup. Loudon United. And then Brandon Baby Bull Morales will be gone in a couple of weeks. That's true. I think he said 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, he's leaving to Cornell.
Wait, is that the nickname that Ray gave?
No,
Brandon?
it wasn't Ray. It was Carson. Carson nicknamed him Baby Bull.
Oh, man. I mean, he's a kid.
We love you,
for a
Carson.
reason. Yeah. Yeah, no, Carson Platty's in the chat as well, if he is. But, yeah, no. You go back. I mean, yes, you can see those players that just sometimes they don't necessarily agree with what's going on. and it becomes, a problem and stuff like that. But in the end, they're my age. They're 18, 19-year-olds. They don't know what they really want at the moment. They want to start, but but when they figure it out, oh, I'm actually not that great. Maybe I should go back and not only get a degree if it happens, but also still get more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps them out. So they're still immature soccer-wise. They don't necessarily know what they want or need until, of course, they figure it out themselves. He's figuring it out. He's maturing a bit more. Yeah, of course, he could still technically be a baby, but as long as he is learning more and maturing, it only takes time. Remember, this whole development crap is all about time. Time will tell if Brandon's even going to be good, if Cabrera Jr. is going to improve more. And even, of course, same thing with Charlie Ward and everyone basically in this USL, if they're not already on their way out.
So going back on topic, because I think we we went way off of topic. Hey, in fact, I don't even remember what caused us to go off topic that much. But yeah, going back to that, another thing that I saw out of this team would. By the way, what a goal by Robert Coronado!
Yeah.
What a beauty!
I mean, one goal of the week. How about that?
So it won goal of the week. But here's the thing: I think that camera angle does not do that goal justice. There's this. I don't know if you saw it on his Instagram. There's a video that he posted from one of his family members or friends that took it like from the stands, but it's like right in line from them, like almost to ground level, like into the goal, and you just see how it like curves and just goes like into the upper 90. It was like, wow, that just made that goal even more beautiful. And that's another thing I think this team needs. I feel that sometimes they need to be a lot more, or more people or more players need to be a lot more daring and shoot from outside the box.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot more.
Romilio's done it. Now Robert Coronado's done it. Chewy, we know he can do it. But I think they probably need a little bit more courage or confidence in themselves that they can do this more consistently. Especially with, we've mentioned it in other shows, especially against teams that are going to be bunkering back.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I mean, we got Carlos Small even on the bench too, and we know that he can strike from distance somewhat.
Yeah.
So that's another player. And I mean, the offense, of course, they need more courage to find their way from, just in case they can't get into the other half. And
Correct.
most of the times, of course, we've seen it with our own eyes too. When they can't get into that half, when they can't get into that last 30 to 40 yards to goal, half the time the shot gets blocked.
And here's
and maybe it's up for a corner, but then that corner is going to get headed out. So, yeah.
And here's the reason why I say this, right? So you look at the stats and you look at possession. The Toros had 61.5% possession. Orange County only had 38.5%, especially when they had those two go-ahead goals. So they're like, we already did damage. Let's see what the Toros can do. It, especially if they know, if they did their homework, that when a team bunkers down, the Toros have a lot harder time scoring goals. And then you look at crosses. The Toros had 20 crosses this match with a 15% accuracy.
Yeah.
What does this mean? It means that they relied a lot in going out on the wings, which is their style, I understand. But they tried to go too much going out on the wings and try to do some damage there, crossing it in or trying to dribble their way into it. Yeah. Whereas you saw that the biggest that made the damage was shots from outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
You look.
Yeah, I'm not shocked about that. We've noticed it before, especially when they haven't done well.
Yeah.
They go on the wings and they try to bring it into the box, which sometimes it is successful, but you're gonna see it not successful from, like we said, from this game. Basically, a team that launches up the inside just does not work. And yeah, from afar, it will create more opportunities, I think, than if you shoot it, of course, or if you try to cross it into the box. And also why I say that is because, well, we've tried it. We've tried to shoot, and we've gotten a lot better at accuracy. We've gotten a lot better from distance on accuracy. We're not breaking, which Ray's going to like this, we're not breaking vodka bottles from...
Yeah, it was at 30.4%.
Yeah, exactly. It's much better than it has been in the past in general. Of course, yeah, we can get some coaches even mad that we couldn't stop them from shooting outside shots, and sure enough, it went into the back of the net. Nothing the keeper could do.
Yeah.
We could get coaches really mad about that stuff where, of course, they just can't stop them in the midfield. So that's, of course, a thing that we can polish up. We still got a long ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, this is one thing out of a ton of other things that not only we need to focus more on, but just, I guess just focus up more on.
So I'm looking at the replay right now, and you look at Peña's posture in the penalty. Like he just pretty much told the goalkeeper, "I'm gonna shoot it towards my right. I'll meet you there," kind of thing. Like, it was just very obvious the way he was postured, that he was gonna shoot it low on the ground and to the keeper's left. And it didn't have a lot. It didn't have a lot of power. And you look at the goal off of a corner kick. Just the fact, seeing how high Michael Seaton jumps, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
I really don't think... I'm going to try and see. I'm looking at the replay. I'm going to try and follow on. I can't. But here's the thing, though. Michael Seaton headed the ball between two Toros defenders.
Yeah.
I think that's something they would need to work on. And then the second goal was off of a through ball, and we go back to how out of coordination that the back line was. You had Robert Coronado trying to hustle and trying to get back because there was a big hole that Kyle Adams and Fuenmayor left behind. Why? Because Fuenmayor doesn't know what Kyle Adams usually does, and unlike Connor Donovan, who knows, okay, if he's gonna go up to press high, I need to move to this certain spot to try to stop or block that hole that might be open. Fuenmayor doesn't know that. There was a huge space for that through ball over to Darwin Jones.
Yeah. Word, basically. I mean, yeah, you're saying exactly everything that... Yeah. I don't know what more to say from that, because it's so true. There's nothing, of course, yeah, on corners, on set pieces, like we've heard before even, I won't name any names, but like, the goal is to keep the ball out of your net on a corner. I'm going to defend you as hard as I can, as fair as I can, of course. Mm-hmm. I don't want to screw it up and make a penalty on that. So, yes, give credit to Michael Seaton for jumping as high as he can possibly. He's got a crazy vertical. He's got the Van Dyke vertical, is what I'm going to call it as well, because, well, if you've ever watched Virgil van Dijk score a header, it's pretty impressive.
Or like Cristiano Ronaldo.
Same deal. Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, which, by the way, I mean, side note, Cristiano Ronaldo, once again, what a free kick for him to put Portugal in that final. But yeah, no, it's true. Just that whole thing is to keep it out, and if you can't necessarily keep it out, well, you've got to have a phenomenal goalkeeper, which we do, but it's almost impossible sometimes to save goals. So it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And like we mentioned, Robert Coronado's beautiful shot. I know he, because he won Goal of the Week, the team interviewed him about that goal. And one of the things that he mentioned was that the original plan was he received the ball, I think, from he said Fuenmayor. Fuenmayor passed the ball over to him. His original intention was Ronaldo Peña. His original intention was to send it back to Peña or open up for Chuy, but he saw like there was no space for them, and he decided to take the shot. And I know Droopy LH7 was telling me right now here in chat, and he's told me before, and some other people that I've seen, family members that have seen him play, when he was in college and all through his career, they're saying that he is a player that can kick, that is very accurate from outside the box. And so Droopy goes to show and says Robert was a free kick taker in college because he can hit from distance. It's just a matter of the team being confident enough as a whole to want to take those outside shots. We know that a lot of the times it's going to go sky high more often than not, because
it also depends on how they take it too. We've seen why they go sky high, because they try to first time it. If you control it just like he did, then there's a better opportunity for him to get it on goal and to make the keeper work for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but obviously, like anything, like don't go overboard with shooting outside the box. It's just when you need to and you have a good opportunity to do so. There's been many times in a couple of games and we've talked about it at the stadium, where it's a clear opportunity for them to take the shot from outside the box. They hesitate and they decide to pass it somewhere, or they lose the ball.
Exactly, and that was kind of what I was going to touch up on too, man. It's so true. We've seen that happen where it is a clear opportunity. They do have that shot, and you'd rather them shoot it than to make that one extra pass. I've watched that throughout basically almost all my life too, because of course, going back, I've had a sister that got to play high school soccer and got to start on the varsity team, and it was the same deal. They would make that extra pass, and then of course either the keeper would get to it or a defender would get to it, because they should have taken that shot and made the keeper work for it from back there, and probably had a chance to maybe rebound. Mm-hmm. So it's a much better opportunity for you to take it when you have that chance. Of course, you don't need to take a kick like that when, let's say, there's almost no one in front of you. When you've got that opening to go closer, take it. When you got that opportunity to make, of course, that beautiful run and pass that ball, yes, that's when you pass. But when you have that clear opportunity, and I'm so glad that he explained that goal, mm-hmm. that he saw there was no room. He saw an opportunity. I'm going to take that opportunity instead of give the ball away.
Yeah.
That is great thinking in general. That is great soccer and knowledge. And I'm glad that this team is starting to pick up on it. Hopefully a lot more can pick up on it, and we can see that come this Saturday even, as well as next Saturday.
Yeah, definitely as well. Now, another thing I do want to mention, and I want you to talk about, you mentioned that you were listening to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast on Tuesday. You mentioned something about them feeling that the ref was in favor of the Toros. Why?
Well, because, well, I don't necessarily know why they felt like it. I guess because there was an early penalty. Um, and of course, there was one challenge. I know that they specifically were talking about that. It was with Darwin Jones. Why Darwin Jones got that first yellow card. They did not necessarily believe that he deserved that first yellow card. They did believe that he did deserve that second yellow card, where it was, of course, well, made it a suspendable offense. And that was one part of why they thought that the ref was kind of against them, and of course, probably calling a bit more fouls more towards them than RGVFC.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
Yeah, because I was about to say, is like, what are they complaining? Like, both offenses deserve the second yellow. I mean, you look at, I think it was Darwin Jones, and the way he literally throws himself to try to stop the Toros attack, like that was an obvious yellow, and I think it was against Coronado. I think it was against Coronado. And then poor Coronado, because in the first red card as well, the foul was against him as well. That was another yellow for Auden Quinn, because he throws himself, like his leg goes directly to stomp or to hit the ankle of Robert Coronado. So that those were true reds. Now, if you're saying that they only remember one other instance that might have been a questionable call, then really there isn't enough proof, there isn't enough evidence to say the referee was against Orange County SC. I think it was decently reffed given the circumstances. I think for the most part both teams played to play and not play to injure or to cut up play. I think it was flowing. It's just at the end, those two individual players for Orange County lost their heads or whatever and put themselves in the situations to be sent off. But I don't think it's the ref's fault. This is something that their coach needs to get that settled down with. And it's not the Toros or the ref's fault. That's all on them. Now, I wish we could have taken advantage of being men up throughout the match. Mm-hmm. But if you have a Orange County SC team that's going to be bunkering back, and we know your struggle with that, then that's the kind of results that you're going to get. So let me play just real quickly, because this was on Instagram. Let me play just real quick the video of Robert Coronado talking about that goal, and this is on RGVFC's official Instagram. So let's take a listen to see what he says about it.
And before my yard had the ball on the up on the attacking side of the half, he played the ball into Ronaldo, who was playing our forward. And then Ronaldo laid it off first time into me. I took a touch. I was originally going to pass it back to him or Chuy. And then I didn't see anybody stepping to me. So I took a second touch and I just said, hit it as hard as I can on frame. And I did, and ended up hitting top bins. And I got my first goal.
So how does it feel for your first ever professional goal to earn you the top goal of the week of the league?
It feels good, actually. I have a lot of support from everyone here and back home, so I want to thank everybody who voted for me and for goal of the week. Thank you.
That was Robert Coronado talking about his goal. We also have a couple of words thanks to Rey Silva of South Texas Border Sports. Some interviews with Coach Gerson Echeverry and Andrew Samuels in English. So let's take a listen at that.
Coach, obviously the missed penalty influenced the result on the road. Your overall assessment of the game?
I thought there were moments in which we did quite well. I mean, in the first half, I think they came into our box twice and scored both times. And then the rest of the half, we pretty much had control of the game and of the ball. After Coronado's goal, I felt that we got a second wind and we feel good about ourselves to the point where we had some close calls to score earlier at the end of the first half. In the second half, they dropped their lines more. They started defending with more numbers, and they did a good job in regards to referencing our midfielders and not letting us play through our middle, the players in the middle of the field. And so, they started being more of a counter team, which is unusual for them. But they did a good job in managing the game. I think one of the things that really, for whatever reason, our mindset, once they got a red card, we became very undisciplined. People started flying forward, getting into each other's space. So I think that there was a moment, we got desperate. And even though that's a moment where we should have just calmed down, being that we were up a man. And, we still created a couple of chances, but we didn't put the ball in the back of the net.
And now you're going to be missing Malik Foster for an extended period of time. Does that change anything moving forward as to how you change like your formation and stuff like that?
No, we're not changing our formation. You just change personnel. Obviously, he's an important player for us. For a reason, he is with the national team. So anytime that you have a player that plays on the national team, they're a big player for you. And so for us, he's been extremely important, done very, very well. And, now it's just someone else's turn to step up and try to, make a case for themselves. And whoever, it is that takes his spot needs to produce.
Now you've got another difficult opposition on the road, going to the elevation in Rey Monarchs. How do you prepare for a team that's very good at home in the elevation?
Well, the best way is for us to go earlier. We don't have the budget to go 2 or 3 days earlier, so we just have to prepare here and play and be able to manage the ball, which is the most important thing. If we think we're going to go and be able to run there like we've run here, we're going to be in for it. So the most important thing is making sure that we're solid defensively, that we're compact when we have the ball. We keep possession of the ball and make the ball move. So let the ball do the running and not necessarily us sprinting all over the place and running out of air. Okay.
So that was Coach Echeverri. That was Coach Gerson Echeverri this week after practice. Once again, huge thank you and credit to Rey Silva of South Texas Border Sports for allowing us to reproduce this footage for you guys here at Down in the Valley. But Jacob, what are your thoughts? Number one, he talks about the fact that he felt that the Toros had a couple of chances, even under 2 down.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. One thing that I will say from that as well is, when Alden Quinn got that red card, they should have slowed down. Instead, were really not doing that. They didn't calm down. They were, I guess, trying to attack a bit more and just be a bit more aggressive. And then it was pretty cool that he said, of course, when Robert Coronado did score that goal, they did have more opportunities to try and, test the game and almost tie.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, yeah, it will take time for them to learn how to really take advantage of a situation like that, when they just need to know that we can calm down. We've got enough time to really take advantage of this. And, of course, just like he said, when they became a counterattacking team and they were able to control that game and were able to, be a counterattacking team, what counterattacking teams do. So, yeah, things, of course, could have gone a different way for them. They just, like we said, when a team becomes a counterattacking team against a team that's known to be a counterattacking team, aka RGVFC, it's not going to go extremely well for RGVFC. It just creates problems for them not to be able to find a way around it. That's really why, in the end, Orange County was really able to win.
And see here's the thing going on with the other thing that Coach Echeverri talked about with Ray's question about going to Real Salt Lake is Coach Echeverry mentioned that they're going to have to play different than they usually play at home because of the elevation. What does this mean? It means we're going to have to get rid of, for this game, our counter-attacking style, which we love to play, which we are very comfortable playing with, and be a lot more possession-based, which we tend to have a lot more problems with. Do you see things being a bit of the same without Malik Foster and having to change that play style because of the elevation?
I think for sure it could be. It could be a problem. Just the way that, of course, they've had this whole week to really train without Malik. They've had this whole week to really figure out things. Of course, it's given soccer terms, it's not a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, you are, as Sean would say, you are a professional. You need to know this by now. But in reality, yeah, we will see some problems. I'm almost certain of that.
Or at least we won't.
The only question is, can we keep possession to where we control it no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
and our back line is fully functional, and we still have an opportunity every once in a while to score and not let them really take advantage of this game.
And this is the kind of games where players like Wilmer Cabrera Jr. need to step up in their distributor role. They need to play smart. They need to be very patient in order to, like Coach said, let the ball run and not necessarily them run towards the ball. This is where somebody tactical like Charlie Ward is necessary in these kind of games, in a possession style game. I feel like most of our starters are a lot more into counterattacks and not necessarily like be able to maintain smart possession. Like Coach has said before, in games where we've had a lot of possession, yes, we have possession, but it was dumb possession because we didn't know what to do with it. We weren't smart in being able to control the ball. Yes, we had a lot of possession, but just because we had a lot of possession didn't really translate into danger in the opposing goalkeeper's goal, you know. So Aha Buddy says, and I'm translating, they should use the wingers more when they are a player up. I want to disagree with you because we talked about it. They were hunkering down and they were trying. That's what they were doing. I mean, that's what the Toros were doing. They were going out on the wings and trying to cross. But everybody, they had Leonardo, they had somebody else, you know, they were just there waiting inside the box for those crosses just to clear it out. And if you keep on doing that, or Orlando City, different OCSC, Orange County SC was just waiting for it just to give it down. So you weren't surprising them. Whereas the surprise was Robert Coronado's shot from outside the box. They were not expecting that. Everybody was expecting him to go wide, like he said. They left just enough space for him to take that shot and slot it in. They weren't expecting that. And I think that's what needs to be. That's what they needed to do. I mean, I understand your point about you have a one-man advantage, but most of the time when the team is a man down, they sacrifice an attacker to put in another defender. And what does that mean? It's just pretty much the same thing. They're a man down. They're already 2 goals up. They don't need attackers. They can just hunker back. And if you think you're going to have a lot more space because you're a man up, that's not necessarily the case this time, because they're all just waiting in their box for you to come at them. So there's really not a difference of space whether you're playing against 11 or playing against 10. That's why a lot of the times it's kind of like a big question, or not a big question, like the fact that just because you're playing with a man up, you're going to necessarily run away with the game. You know, it takes a smart coach to play with 10 men And there's many times, I've seen it many times, where a team plays better with 10 men than with 11. Yeah. So, and then Ray says, the real question now becomes, when does Sean come down? I'll ask him eventually. And then he says, Jacob lost the jacket. Oh, boy. So yeah, I think personally, I think it's going to be another one of those games against Real Monarchs due to the circumstances of being up there in elevation. So I honestly think it's going to be another one of those either draws or we come back with another loss, but it's going to be tightly contested match. I hope we get the win, but more than likely it's going to be another tie, maybe 1-1 or maybe 0-0. Depending on who the Dynamo sends.
I'd take a tie.
I would.
Why? Because it's one of the toughest, if not toughest, one of the tougher places to play, just due to the fact, like we said, it's higher up than from sea level. Mm-hmm. So thinner air up there. It's going to be tougher to breathe. We've had that before. Well, not this season, actually.
And we don't have the luxury, like Coach said, of going to that place before we usually go to anybody else to try to get accustomed to that climate. But now we understand why. It's because the budget isn't there for that.
Of course, yeah. Budget's never there for that. It's just, yeah, we're going to have to focus on just the differences, really.
So let's take it. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's really just gonna be a tie. We have the players to really make it that tie. It's gonna be tougher, and we've always had trouble there too. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think tie is fantastic.
So let's take a look at. You mentioned something. I really want to make sure about that. You mentioned that we struggle at Real Monarchs historically. So let's take a look.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we have, especially at that stadium.
Yeah. So let's take a look exactly at those stats and see what the numbers coming into this match are. So, fixtures, record versus. All right.
Record versus.
So, we're looking at. So, right off the bat, Real Monarchs, we've played against them 6 times overall. We've won twice, drawn once, and lost 3 times. Now, away, playing at their stadium, let's take a look at those numbers. Venue, only away games. So, the Toros in 2016 won at Real Salt Lake. They in 2016
You're
1-0.
looking at the glory years, bud.
Yeah, and then in 2017 lost 2-1. 2018 lost 2-0. So one win and 2 losses at their stadium, whether it's Zion's Bank or whatever their facility was before. So it's like you said, it's a negative record on there, and given the circumstances, yeah, it makes sense. So let's listen to what Andrew Samuels told
Andrew
Ray.
Samuels, being one of the rookies on the team, how does it feel to getting some playing time down here as you develop for the Houston Dynamo?
It feels great to get some minutes under my belt, some pro minutes, and actually get in there playing new position. It's good to get out there and get games and just trying to get as many games as possible and just try to do the right thing and learn the position. And then hopefully I'll be ready for Houston soon.
An unlucky result the last time out against Orange County. Did you feel that a minimum draw should have been the proper result?
Yeah, we feel we let ourselves down. We knew that we kind of had the game and we had a little bit more to give. Unfortunately, the ball just didn't bounce our way and we ended up walking out of there with a loss, but we definitely feel like we could have gone out of there with more.
Now you guys prepare to go on the road to Real Monarchs, a team that plays in the elevation, plays very well at home. What has Coach told you about Real Monarchs that hopefully will make you guys get the result?
We're just setting up our game plan right now of how we're going to build out of the back. We've watched a little bit of video on how they press, and we're just figuring out what we're going to do to find space and exploit them. And we just worked on it a lot today at practice, so I feel like we'll be ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking for space and exploiting them. Those are the key words going into this Real Monarchs match.
Yep.
And it's all about smart possession and that distributor being key. Who else but that center attacking midfielder who should be the player that should be able to identify those spaces and being clinical enough to take advantage of those places? Usually, 9 times out of 10, should be your central attacking midfielder. Should be a position that Wilmer Cabrera Jr. plays.
Yep. And like you said, this is a game that he has to step up, or not just necessarily has to, but really can step up and show that, well, I can be a leader for Butler, because we all know he's leaving soon. I can be a leader for my college team, and this can really prove him in the right direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, we kind of look at, I wouldn't necessarily say what lineup we gave Orange County, but what lineup we gave San Antonio. And of course, this is totally different because it was at home. But I do see something a lot along this line, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You get that kind of triangular / arrow formation, or just a regular 4-2-3-1. Why I call it an arrow is because the way that Google gives it, it kind of looks like an arrow. But yeah, it's the same kind of back line that you probably see Connor Donovan plus Kyle Adams with Coronado. And of course, yes, you do add that Andrew Samuels kid in, because that kid has been pretty nice, and that's just the back line. Like you said, you got to create the space, you got to create those chances, and we're going to most likely play a different style of football. So you get Cabrera Jr., that player, just that position in general needs to step it up. You take away Malik Foster, and you're going to put someone, well, not from Houston, because we know they don't give us attackers. So you'll put someone like maybe Castellanos even, or... Well, actually, no.
No, because Castellanos is a center back. But I mean, we got... Okay, so, all right. So going into that line...
It may be small.
So, look, going into that line, we know we're going to be without Malik. Who plays in that position? You got Nico Lemoyne. You have Camilo Monroy. And I think Kevin Rodriguez has also played in that position. Out of those three, who do you prefer to play in that position?
I think it would be Lemoyne, with, of course, Brad on the bench. I really do think that Lemoyne would be key, just due to, we haven't seen him play a lot because, well, let's be real, Malik Foster has been unreal this season. But with him there, it's just, I don't know. Even when we have Lemoyne, I think he can be a key. It's just a place that we're going to have to fill with someone, and they're going to have to step up no matter who it is, actually.
See, I disagree with you on that. I'd go more with Camilo Monroy, and here's why. Camilo Monroy is one of those technical players just like Chuy Enriquez is. He's very agile. He's fast, but he's not straight line fast as much as Malik Foster.
Yeah.
Camilo Monroy is one of those tactical players that he can try and dribble his way past his attackers. And when you're going to be playing and looking for the space, he's going to be one of those players that the way he makes the run, he's going to find himself some space in between, or is able to create his space when he's out on the wing to try and get that cross in. Nico Lemoyne, to me, I don't think he is that technical in as far as dribbling, and I think having both Chewy and Camilo Monroy out on the wings to kind of exploit that reduced space, I think it'd be key, because if you keep it all to Chewy, the defense is going to switch right away and shift over to their right side, our left side, to try to reduce even the space even more for Chewy. But if you got two technical players on both wings, they're not gonna want to cover one side only. They're gonna have to not reduce that space, because they could easily just send it over to the other side, and you've got all this space for either Chewy or Camilo to take advantage, dribble, shoot, cross it, whatever. That's the way I see it. As far for this, the bigger question is, what does Coach see out of this match? I think it'd be very interesting to see coming Saturday what Coach has analyzed out of Real Monarchs going into this situation, and who he decides to put in as the starter for Malik Foster's spot. Like I said, that's something that I see personally, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me on that, but hey, that's the beauty of being a couch coach.
And that's the beauty of, also having a co-host as well, because he thinks opposite as well. Like Nico Lemoyne, and like I say. And, I mean, of course, yeah, you're going to disagree with this again, but I really think as well it could be a coin flip. Yes, you can get a technical player out there as well. And also what I do see, now really realizing it, because we both know these players haven't necessarily, started a lot, because just given the fact of how this team has been performing. You've got Monroy and you've got Lemoyne. Mm-hmm. Well, why not start Camilo Monroy? And if, of course, you need to, I don't know, change it up, or that player's feeling a bit tired or looking a bit off, put in Lemoyne. See what happens. So I think that's a valuable substitution opportunity there, at least one, given that Houston, which is probably not going to happen anyway, given that Houston does not send down a lot of players. Though we could see that happen just due to the fact that they don't have a game, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend.
No, they do not. I mean, they have the Open Cup, but that's until Tuesday.
Exactly.
It will be interesting to see who they're going to send. Are they going to be sending in 4 more like they did last week, or what's going to happen with that? So actually, Ray mentions in chat that he thinks that Carlos Small might get the start.
I wouldn't be shocked with that as well. Why not give Carlos Small a start? Like you said, we need basically all the offense we can get. We have to change up this game. We got to get possession-wise. Carlos Small, that's a valuable option considering he is coming back from, a little bit of hitting rock bottom per se.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying here, as in he kind of has fallen off, but he's getting back up and is moving on. He wants to get back. We can see that he is maturing as well. He's not necessarily – he's becoming a better player as well as kind of a person. He doesn't necessarily believe that he deserves, I guess, the world per se. So, yeah, why not give him a start as well? That's another valuable option even for us to sub in. And why would I say sub in? Well, because he can also be a super sub. Mm-hmm. And we need super subs on the road because, they can become superheroes. And guess what? Not all heroes wear capes. They play soccer on a soccer pitch.
So I'm looking at the roster, and yeah, don't expect any more attackers to be sent down in the short term from the Dynamo, because the only one that's attacking minded is Ronaldo Pena. And Ronaldo Pena was added to this roster like, when did I say? Like a month and a half ago? You know? So don't expect any helps on the wings or anything like that from the Dynamo. Now here's another player. Victor Garza. I know he hasn't played a lot of minutes, but
Yeah.
we've seen him play that position before, and he's played it well.
Yeah.
You remember that game
That-
last year against Portland Timbers too? The one where he got injured, yes. But you remember how he played before he got injured in that game?
Yeah, he played great. But the only difference is now, I mean, you just said it right now. He got injured. How's he going to play now that he's really, come back from that injury? Is he still going to play like he's kind of rusty? Or is he going to play like right out of the gate? So that's also a thing that we need to think of. But that is a great, valuable option for not only this game, but for the season.
Yeah, because he's only played 11 minutes. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something interesting I wanted to bring up about that about this match. I don't know if you want to add anything about it, about this Real Monarchs and anything else before we kind of change gears into the next topic.
Yeah, I mean, Real Monarchs, they play at a pretty nice stadium. Not just, of course, the place where Real Salt Lake plays, but their own little stadium that got built not too long ago. So that's a nice place. It's always beautiful up in Utah. I do give them credit on that. But, of course, it's basically game time. RGVFC needs to show that they are ready to play on the road, that they can not only come back from the loss, but can play for a victory in basically not their type of climate. So
You actually have somebody that agrees with you in the chat. Sloth says, I would like to see Lemoyne get more playing time.
Exactly. I mean, that's someone that has not necessarily played a lot. And, of course, we need these options not only for now, but for later in the season. And I can't stress that enough, but it's for those late runs that make or break your season.
And then Pat says, saw the Dynamo flag in the thumbnail, and I'm here to bid on it. $15. The flag in your room.
Oh, yeah, in my room. Yeah, no, that's not for sale.
Not too late. I already said sold.
Oh.
He says he'll pick it up in late July.
All right. Sounds good.
So, continuing on, we already know about, as far as the Toros, what we think should happen or what could happen this Saturday. Predictions. Score predictions.
Score prediction for this Saturday, I'm going to say a solid draw. We're going to get 1 goal back and tie 1-1.
1-1 as well. Bold prediction.
Bold prediction, I'm going to say ref lets a lot of things slide that he should have called, and so things get heated once again with players. And, well, we might see some yellow cards after things get heated. And still, well, actually this time, it will be a goal fest because of the way that both teams will play. They'll play attacking-minded football, and we'll see a 3-3 draw.
So here's my bold prediction. We win 1-0. Ronaldo Pena gets the. We're gonna see Ronaldo Pena again. That's my bold prediction, and he's gonna score the game winner late in the match.
We talking penalty?
No. No. It's gonna be a cross from Chui.
Even better. He's gonna Ronaldo. He's gonna be a Ronaldo.
So
he's gonna make his name real.
So moving on to that, to another topic that is of great concern for the Toros, even though this is Dynamo stuff. Open Cup next week. RGVFC will play against Austin Bold. I mean, Houston Dynamo plays Austin Bold. But we already know that they're going to be using Toros players for this game.
Yeah, I really just see that for this game. Because Chris Canetti and Houston fans know that they want to try again for this trophy to get back into the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there's another opportunity for RGVFC players to get their chance versus Club America. I'm going to say it as wide as possible, America. But, no, seriously, there's a chance for RGVFC players to play in that game as well. So I do see, and like you said, we do expect to see RGV players play against Austin Bold FC, which is fine. We've already beaten them in preseason. I don't think they necessarily got any better. But, and of course, yeah, it's just shots being fired. It's still kind of Copa Tejas-like in a way. It's still Houston. It's still Austin.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Except, I guess, the location. But, I mean, continuing on, yeah, RGV players have a chance. And, of course, we know who's going to be on the bench. We always, for these games, we see DeMarcus Beasley on the bench for a game and then get subbed in, or Boniac Garcia on the bench. And, of course, Memo Rodriguez, Kyoto, and Elise. Of course, Kyoto and Elise, my mistake, they are gone. Same thing with AJ De La Garza. Will he be gone by Tuesday? Or is there still time for that?
I think
is his international call-up not yet?
It's an international call-up, but it should be this week. But I'm highly going to assume that they're going to be resting him. So we're probably going to be seeing Cristobal.
Okay.
We're probably going to be seeing Cristobal.
Okay, so Cristobal. That's not too shocking. That's basically an RGV player as well. Okay. But, yeah, given the fact they will still, by closer to the end of the match, sub in actual Houston Dynamo players, no matter if they're doing well or not, because, yes, players do get tired and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll see some substitutions. That's not entirely shocking for this first round, or, excuse me, the first MLS round. It's not actually the first round of the tournament. But, yeah, it's not too shocking. I do still see in the next round Houston Dynamo really starting to bring their A game once, of course, players do come back from that international break, a.k.a. Kyoto and Elise. Sorry, guys. I don't expect you all to make it out of the group stage, yet Honduran fans are saying that they will. I hope that's true, but at the same time, for Houston Dynamo's sake, I hope they miss the round of 16 or quarterfinals or whatever again. Hello. Okay, lost sound.
Okay. All right. I wonder what they missed. God, I hate doing this. Muting it. All right. So here's the thing that we have to keep in mind. There is a limit to how many players can be signed on short-term loans by an MLS team from their USL affiliate. They can sign a total of 4 short-term loan deals. Each of them can go up to 4 days. Mm-hmm. They can only play in CONCACAF Champions League, Lamar Hunt's U.S. Open Cup, and exhibition matches like the Dynamo Charities Cup. They can't play in the league. They need to have an MLS contract for that.
Yeah.
What does this mean? It means that the Dynamo would have to choose 4 players from our roster to play against Austin Bold. Who do you think will get the nod this Wednesday?
Ooh, that's a tough one, for sure. Hmm. Well, just looking at the lineup, I guess now. Who's been in top form for us? Who has not? I think Salazar gets a call up.
Okay, that's one.
That would make 100% sense. Then, of course, really, they're going to pick players to fill in a couple of spots, especially, and yes, I know that Salazar would be one for at least the offensive/forward side of things to really replace, I don't know, at least to maybe try that out. But moving on, I guess to really help out, I think they could probably bring Connor Donovan into the back line just to see, since of course they're resting AJ De La Garza. Of course, that's not necessarily the position, but I do kind of see that.
All right, let me go ahead and tell you my four. It's again to give you an opportunity to think of your others. I agree with you on Michael Salazar. Chuy Enriquez. I'm also gonna have to go with Robert Coronado and Connor Donovan.
Okay. Yeah,
If,
Coronado.
If not Coronado, Romilio.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually agree on that for your whole back. Because, yes, you do also have to replace, I guess, Kyoto and let Memo Rodriguez also get a break. And also, of course, Morrow get a break on that, too. So, yeah, you do totally bring in Chuy Enriquez or Jesus Enriquez because, well, why not use his actual first name? Yeah. And then, of course, that back line, like you said, to replace that side just for the night until, of course, they have to sub someone like Robert Coronado would be a perfect opportunity. Yeah, we're really, I guess, kind of guessing the same way because it just makes sense. You got to fill up those positions the right way, and I think that is the right way to fill those positions up just for the time being, of course, and just for that game.
Because let's take a look at the Dynamo roster. These are the ones that I know for sure are going to be playing against, or are going to be more highly probable to play against Austin Bold that are Dynamo players. Darwin Seren, Tyler Derrick, Juan David Cabezas. You already have your two defensive midfielders right there, right? Juan David Cabezas and Darwin Seren. Goalkeeper Tyler Derrick. Chris Dubal, obviously, as a right back. Kevin Garcia. Sam Junqua. So those are already your two outside backs and one of your center backs. Marlon Hairston, I'm not sure how he's doing in his injury, so that's kind of pending. Eric McHugh might be another one. So that's their other center back right there. Ronaldo Peña, I think, will for sure will be the starter, so you'll probably see Michael Salazar coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Yeah.
So let me make a list on that. Trying to hold on. Talk for a little bit while I get a pen.
Okay. Well, yeah, that 100% makes sense. Just given the fact, and of course, I guess, just interpret more on Michael Salazar. As you all know, even though I keep saying it, there is a chance for none other than Elise to leave the club to, well, the weird place of Ireland. Of course, Celtic United or someone like that would probably pick him up. They're looking at Elise and stuff like that. I don't necessarily see, at least for this transfer window, things going through. Of course, it would be Kyoto's dream to really get into the European Union in a way, or just into that vicinity to try and pull up his chances of getting into a Premier League or just a European club like that. And it's a big possibility for sure. But in reality, of course, yeah, him coming off the bench would make sense. And then, of course, you got the bench players we won't, of course, see. Joe Willis on goal. We'll see someone probably like Michael Salazar or Tyler Derrick. Tyler Derrick would be more likely to play. I think whoever we see this Saturday for RGVFC behind goal will not be playing, of course, in the U.S. Open Cup, which would probably mean if Tyler Derrick does, if Houston Dynamo do loan down Tyler Derrick for that game on Saturday, I do see probably Michael Nelson getting that start behind goal for them. If not, maybe they'll just decide to put Joe Willis behind goal and keep him the same way just due to the fact of how hot he's been all season long. He's really made some incredible saves. He's, saved chances of losses. He's saved games for RGVFC. For Houston Dynamo. So that's a big thing. You don't want to mess with someone who is on a bit of a hot streak. He's kept draws happening. I mean, the goal differential is incredible. It's, for at least Houston Dynamo, 7 goals would be the goal differential when he's only allowed 14 goals into the back of the net, and a couple of them not even being his fault too. So not doing too bad for sure on that.
So I looked at the possibilities that we have, right, for assuming a starting 11, right?
Yep.
I mentioned Salazar, Enriquez, Connor Donovan, and either Coronado or what's his name? I said Romilio, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, a possible starting 11 for me would be Tyler Derrick on goal, Duval, Garcia, McHugh, Junqua, JDC Seren, Tommy Mack, Marlon Hairston, Chuy Enriquez, Ronaldo Pena.
Yep.
Assuming that they're going to have most of their actual starters like Elise, Kyoto, who else? Who else is going off? Kiki Struna, Maynard Figueroa. Those that are participating in Gold Cup, they're obviously not going to be available. So, and then the ones that aren't in Open Cup, they're in Gold Cup, like Kiki Struna, who I think he's doing League of Nations with Slovenia, or either friendly or nations with Slovenia. You have, who else is doing something like that? Oh, AJD with Guam, with qualifiers. And other than that, others like DeMarcus, like Memo, and Manotas are probably going to get like a little break, and they're not going to probably use them. And there might be available, or Tomas Martinez might be as a sub, but I highly doubt it since they're going to be playing a USL team. So, potential bench, I have Salazar, Coronado, Connor Donovan, Michael Nelson, and then I also said Romilio Hernandez. I think makes the most sense. However, my biggest question is, if Hairston is still injured, would we see Tommy Mack out on the wing in a position where we hate him at? Where he's too slow to play as a winger? Where is Eric Bird going to be? Will he be playing in the position that he played in 2016 or 2017? 2017, when he was more of a center attacking midfielder before he got an MLS contract with the Dynamo. I'd rather see Tommy Mack as a center attacking midfielder. That's kind of the least worst position we can put him at. So Seren is also with Salvador national team. So that's going to slot in Eric Bird as a central defensive midfielder. Thank you, Blues fan, for that. So Serena's with the national team with Gold Cup, I think. Yes. Yeah, so he's in the national team with Gold Cup, so Serena's out of the question. That brings in Eric Bird alongside JDC, like we saw in this past Saturday against Orange County SC, which makes the inclusion of Remilio Hernandez, the inclusion of Chuy Enriquez and Michael Salazar pretty much a given based on what the Dynamo has left of a roster. Most of the people that are leaving are attacking minded.
Yeah.
So for sure it has to be Enriquez, Salazar, and Remilio or Isidro Martinez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me tell you something. This better work. We better come out of there 3-1 victors or something like that for Houston Dynamo. Why? Just due to the fact of last week, just like you said right now, Edson, that, well, those players like Juan David Cabezas, who was set up even with Eric Bird and all that, that just means that we're probably going to see them out versus, like, we're probably going to see this same type of lineup versus Austin Bold FC. And so that kind of puts together why Houston Dynamo did what they did, why they sent down the players that they sent down last week, and why they probably won't do it this week, just due to the fact that they've got a game on Tuesday. So we might see a lot of original lineup for RGVFC, which will be big. So that's now, of course, like I said, it better work because they've got a bit more chemistry with each other, given the fact of the lineup now coming probably on Tuesday.
Now, having said this about these potential 4 players being called up for Open Cup, we have Colorado Springs Switchbacks coming in next Saturday to RGV.
Mm-hmm.
We know because if they do play during the middle of the week, they're probably going to be rested for the weekend. We're going to have to think about that as well in the RGV side of things. Who's going to be playing for Chuy? Who's going to be playing for Michael Salazar? Who's going to be playing for Remilio, etc., etc.? Now, until we know for sure who's going to get called up to the Dynamo, who's going to get those short-term MLS contracts, we can only speculate. And the speculation is pretty much nil because this is just going on our gut. But that's one thing we have to think about next week for next week's show. If they're going to, based on who actually gets sent, if they're going to rest them, who are we going to have to play with against Colorado Springs Switchbacks? Granted, the Switchback is one of the worst teams in the Western Conference.
Which, I mean, real quick, which stinks because, man, what a place. I've been there once, and it is a magical place. They deserve better sports teams, but of course, well,
you know how jealous I am of you?
What?
Of actually being at Colorado Springs?
Yeah, I was just there for like one night to stay so that we could fly out. But other than that, what? Well, yeah. Other than that, it was cool.
I want to go there one time, but that's something for a different kind of podcast. But yeah, that's a good topic to talk about for next week's episode. We kind of hit all our bases for this week, except for one. I want to kind of go into more detail about it now that we have more people watching right now this show. Who, by the way, if you guys have not liked this video, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to subscribe if you have not subscribed already. And also be sure to share it on Reddit, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it on Grindr, whatever floats your boat. But share it. with all of your RGVFC fan friends, because the more the merrier. We have to grow this family.
Yep, soccer's for all.
Exactly. But going along those lines, we talked about how can we as a fan base help or stimulate coverage from our local media of this team. We talked about it in other episodes, and it kind of sounds like a broken record about us being participative in social media,
Yep.
retweeting articles, reading the article. Most importantly, click the link and read those articles, because that's the number one. What's the word I'm looking for? That's the number one number that a publisher, that a newspaper is going to look like. Yep. How many people click on that link to read that article? That's the number one thing they look at. Yeah, you retweet whatever, yeah. But if you don't read it, then it's worth nothing, right? So,
exactly. You've got to read it, then, of course, retweet it.
Of course.
That's the way it should work.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because Sean from Generation Orange implemented something called #ReadList. What it is any article that he finds, or we all find as a Generation Orange family, any articles that we find that talk about the Dynamo, talk about the Dash, talk about RGV, click the link and retweet it. Now, like we mentioned earlier in the program, we're not saying that we are the cause of this whole revolution, but it's a very big coincidence that after he started ReadList, #ReadList, we started seeing a lot more articles covering the Dynamo and the Dash, and not necessarily match recaps, but also like player stuff, like talking. I know just recently, yesterday, we talked about it. There was an article about the two Venezuelans, Ronaldo Peña and Alejandro Formayor, talking about about their families in Venezuela with this whole Venezuelan political crisis. They talked about the Dash. They actually had an article in a local newspaper, I think in Beaumont, about a girl, a high schooler, that entered the Dash Academy and is playing with the Dash Academy. We never thought that we would get that kind of coverage would be seen. We're starting to see a lot more, a little bit more videos, recaps in local news channels as well. The Dynamo and the Dash themselves actually created something called the Dynamo Dash Press List, or Daily Press, which compile all of the articles, all of the videos, all of the podcasts, because guess what? Generation Orange actually made that list for today. I was surprised about that. But videos, articles, what else? Printed articles as well, talking about the Dynamo and the Dash, recompiled, and they're on the list that goes out to all the press. What I'm saying is that, like Brett Selasky said on Generation Orange, it doesn't take 5,000, it doesn't take 1,000, it doesn't take 500 people. It takes just a couple of people that read these articles, share it. Here's another thing that's very helpful. If you know who the writer is, if you know their Twitter handle, if you know their Instagram or whatever, take time out of your day to thank them for their coverage. That goes a long way as well. And that makes them even more pumped up to continue writing these articles about the Dynamo, the Dash, in our case, the Toros. What we should do as a fan base, we already know that there is a fan base out there. It's becoming a little bit more vocal as time goes on. But what we need to do is we need to put our money where our mouth is and go out there, and if you find something on Facebook, Twitter, an article that talks about the Toros, read it, retweet it, talk about it with your friends. The more and more people get involved with that, the less opportunity you give the Monitor, Channel 4, Channel 5, Univision, Telemundo. Who else? Somos El Valle. The less opportunity that you give them to ignore the market of the Toros. And that is how we always complain that there's no coverage. There's part of your answer to try to get more coverage from the Toros. Yep. But it takes our part. It takes us doing our part to get this revolution started. So I urge you, you can use hashtag #ReadList as well, or we can personalize it to us to kind of keep it separate. What do you recommend? Hashtag Toros.
I don't know. I guess hashtag. Well, apparently hashtag do your part isn't necessarily working, but I mean I like that kind of, but I guess just hashtag
Toros Daily.
Toros Daily, yeah, that works.
Hashtag Toros Daily. If you find something on Twitter, retweet it or quote tweet it with hashtag Toros Daily. Number one, we can actually find out or realize how many people actually write about it, and get others to know more about these authors that are taking the time out of their schedule, or not necessarily out of their schedules, but I mean, they're taking the time at work to write about the Toros, that are probably kind of getting frustrated because they're not getting the clicks, they're not getting the views, but that's because their articles aren't being shared out there for other people to know about them. This helps both sides, and I think in the Dynamo and Dash perspective, I think it's helped out a lot, and I think it's something that it could be implemented to help out the Toros in the Rio Grande Valley as well.
Yeah, definitely agree. Something that, of course, needs to be done. It's something that I'd like to see happen. Of course, I've got to do my part as well as everyone. That's one thing. Yes, Toros do whatever that hashtag is. Toros do your part.
Toros Daily.
Hashtag do your part, basically, is big, because it's important. You've got to not only be vocal, and of course, as we've discussed many times, you gotta, of course, be vocal respectfully. If not, well, then that's just, who's gonna listen to you?
Yeah.
But yeah, you've also got to, you gotta share those, because not only it's revenue, ad revenue to be exact, and then of course it's also views. And I don't want to say necessarily give the Monitor a break, but at the same time, they're always going to be understaffed as can be. At least I've heard. But good news is, I know of one man who is going to cover at least the next Toros home game, so that is good. My good friend Teclo Garcia is going to be covering that game, so when his story gets printed in the paper and online the following day, go ahead and, well, of course, share that. So that's going to be one thing. And then, of course, anything that has to do with Channel 5 or whoever it is writing stuff, like even the BGN written from Ray's stuff, retweet that with that same hashtag. So there's people out there writing it. We just need to find it and basically make it more public that people care about this. They care about this team. It's getting more vocal. We can get more fans into the seats as well, and this is one way to do it, as well as, of course, that TV deal, as long as, of course, 5.2 is strong enough in your area. I don't know how strong enough it can be in North McAllen to all the way maybe to South Padre and all the way closer to the border.
Mm-hmm.
I think I basically covered everywhere, or to Edinburgh to
Roma.
wherever. Exactly, Roma. I don't know how far it can stretch, that signal can stretch, but given the fact, got to share it, got to show that you care.
So right off the bat, I'm gonna let y'all know a couple of people you can follow for these kind of articles, and you can help them out as well. Obviously, follow us at Down in the RGV on Twitter. I occasionally write on my personal website articles about the Toros, just match recaps so far. But they'll be posted on Down in the Valley's Twitter account. Also, obviously follow Rey Silva at CardPicker86. When he'll let you know when he, number one, posts his interview videos during practice or post game on South Texas Border Sports. So be sure to subscribe to him on YouTube on that. Follow him at CardPicker86. He also writes for BGN Written, the Orange Blocks. So be sure to be on the lookout for his articles to retweet him out as well. Also follow Carson Merck, at Carson A. Merck. He also writes for BGN Written now with All Toros No Bull. I think that's how it is. And they should come out every Wednesday. So be sure to follow him and be sure to retweet those articles as well. Follow at Monitor News. They usually post their articles about the Toros there as well. And that's pretty much what I know so far as content creators for the Toros when it comes to like articles and stuff like that. As always, you can follow KRGV Sports for the actual for videos when they ever do talk about it. There's Alex Del Barrio, Carlos, what's his name? It's not Centeno. But from Telemundo Sports, Carlos Revelo. There it is. Carlos Revelo, Carlos Justis. Be sure to find them and follow them. It's rare when they talk about the Toros on their personal Twitters, but when they do, just be on the lookout for that. But that's pretty much it for tonight's episode. I really want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I know it was kind of last minute change, literally from yesterday. It was scheduled to be yesterday. But I appreciate you all being here on such a short notice, talking about the Toros, and keeping up to date with them. Especially for all the people from Houston that watched, thank you all. For all the people from the Valley, of course, a huge thank you for following us at Down in the Valley here on YouTube and listening to our shows. But we hope. So next week, as far as I know, next week will probably be on Thursday as well, because I need to talk to Sean, because I know for sure Tuesday it's going to be the Open Cup match, so that's going to be a no-go. And I'm not sure if he's going to want to move it to Wednesday or what's going to happen. But more than likely, Down in the Valley will be next Thursday as well at 7 p.m. We'll talk about what happened during the Open Cup match. We'll talk about how that's going to affect the Toros come that Saturday against Colorado Springs Switchbacks.
They come back home.
Yeah, we'll talk about the match against Real Monarchs that's going to happen this Saturday. Hopefully, we can get a decent result out of that. And any other thing that comes out in the world of soccer, if we have time, whether it's
the World Cup will have started. We'll see if USA wins this Saturday too.
Exactly, they're playing against
Ecuador at 10:30 a.m. on FS1 or 2.
So it'll be interesting. If there's time, we'll talk about all of those things just to kind of put some variation on the show. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Jacob, any last words? That sounded like
no,
that sounded like I was gonna execute you or something.
any last words? Just kill me. Just execute me. But no, serious note. Yep. Looking forward to this game, and even looking forward to the Tuesday Open Cup. That should be fun, just due to the fact it's in a miniature rivalry game for sure. Anytime that you play a Texas team, whether it's USL versus MLS or whatever the case may be, it's always the pride of Texas, and so that will be fun for sure. And hey, maybe for Tuesday on your show, if you have to, for Generation Orange, you could just have live reactions where you and Sean are watching the game on, let's say, your screen or whatever on your TV, and just, of course, you can't show it, but just have like live reactions. Oh, this is happening.
Well,
blah, blah.
I'll probably gonna be at the stadium in the press box.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, you'll probably move that show, but hey, yeah, it should be a fun game either way.
But I will try to get some interviews with whichever RGV player gets sent up to the Dynamo for that match. It'd be interesting to get some reactions from them. But guys, thank you so much. We'll see each other next week, Wednesday or Thursday. We'll let you know on our social media. Follow us on Twitter @DownInTheRGV. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/DownInTheRGV. Instagram @DownInTheRGV. And obviously subscribe to this channel. Check out all of our audio podcasts, Google Podcasts, I can't say iTunes anymore because that got phased out. Literally,
Apple
Podcasts now, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and obviously the BGN website at bgn.fm. Also, we want to thank our sponsors, Roughneck Scarves. They're the official scarf supplier of USL, MLS, and US Soccer. You can get custom scarves for you or your group. So be sure to check them out at Roughneck Scarves. Also, big thank you to Golden Gold Press. If you want to shirts, cups, whatever, they can get it for you at a really good price compared to other places. So be sure to check them out as well. They do sell some merch on there as well. I think the BGN is actually selling a Pride shirt because this month is Pride Month. They're selling a Pride shirt, and here's the best part. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 15% of the cost of the shirt is going to what's playing for Pride. So 15% of what they make profit of that Pride shirt goes to the Playing for Pride movement. And I know players, I think it's like Kyle Adams and Ben Willis are officially a part of that movement this year. So be sure to check it out, buy it. It is going for a good cause. So other than that, guys, we'll see each other next week. Thank you so much. And hashtag we are toros, hashtag somos toros, hashtag píntate naranja, and don't forget, hashtag Toros Daily. And yes, Blues, hashtag defend the cup, even though we as RGV fans don't get any benefit from it. But
no, I mean, man, real quick, we do get benefit. What are you talking about? This is great playing for like I said, late runs into the cup, or late runs into the USL Cup. Let me be more clear.
And to be more clear, I meant like those that are 100% RGV fans, not RGV/Dynamo fans. Obviously, we get a benefit as Dynamo fans due to if we win it, we get that money. And
we get that Champions League spot.
But for those who only follow the Toros, which we know a lot of, they kind of get the short end of the stick, if you know what I mean. But yeah, thank you guys. Gotcha. We'll see each other next week. Take care and have a good night. Da, 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 da.
Well, Brad Davis is pretty happy right now. St. Louis is leading.